He's the founder and CEO of Sloan Capital, and he's an investor in Superfood Bowl Restaurant, where he's working to open 50 new Everbowl restaurants. What's up, friends? Welcome back to the Inspired Business Leader. Today on the show, we have Justin Sloan. He's a business-oriented and highly driven entrepreneur who has built multi-million-dollar businesses from the ground up. These businesses range from launching cell phone stores, investing in real estate, and asset management. He's the founder and CEO of Sloan Capital, and he's an investor in Superfood Bowl Restaurant, where he's working to open 50 new Everbowl restaurants. So how are you doing today, Justin?
I'm good, man. Good to talk to you.
Let's start with your backstory. Tell me a little bit about your origin story. What was life like for you growing up?
Yeah. So I'll go way back. I mean, single mom, three boys. So we kind of always had that hustle mentality. And from the age of, 12 or 13 was always trying to find some different ways to make money, whether it's delivering newspapers or helping my mom with different things or whatever. And then kind of as I grew through high school, was working most of the time, almost full time from the age of 16 and working in cell phones. And then as I went into college, was still working in cell phones and ended up making the decision to start my own store and took every penny I had in my bank account and put it into a single location. I was the only employee for about 4 to 5 months until we made enough that we could hire another employee. And then slowly over the next 12 years, built that into a pretty big chain. And like you said, invested into real estate, other companies. Right now is Everbowl. So
That's awesome.
obviously that's a really condensed.
I'll stop in specific places and ask more specific questions. I'm curious about growing up with brothers. Some of them went entrepreneurial routes, or how do you think that shaped you in terms of, it's funny how like certain people can grow up in the same situation and like turn out different. Have they gone entrepreneurial routes or what?
Yeah, so my one of my brothers is, kind of into computer programming. He's extremely smart, and so kind of hustle kind of thing as well. So it's really interesting how all of us, like you said, end up taking different life experiences and turning that into different businesses. And then my younger brothers actually went the military route and has built a very successful career, been on deployment multiple times, and extremely proud of him as well. So it's interesting how you can, like you said, you take a growing up experience and how the three of us have changed to create different careers from that mentality.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like growing up and seeing what our parents or the people around us are modeling, and sometimes it's seeing what they model and saying, "Oh, we don't want to do that." So like, it's just fun to kind of look into like different people's stories and how that affects them. Tell me about the story about kind of you're selling cell phone. You got a job selling cell phones in high school, right? And then you kind of moved to like, tell me about launching that first store and and why you thought that was a good idea.
So when I was a senior in high school, I only went to school about till noon every day. I kind of did the minimum basics. School wasn't for me. So no bragging grade point average, no valedictorian over here. But what I did do is from 1 until 9 o'clock, basically every night, I went to a local mall and sold phones. And I was really good at it. My senior year in high school, I won the sales award, ended up getting a trip to Cancun. It was kind of funny because I was 18, but going with a bunch of other people to Cancun on a sales trip, and kind of progressed through it where I became a store leader and, helped grow. But then there was a plateau where, if you wanted to be a district manager or beyond, they wanted the college degree, they wanted all this kind of stuff. And I thought that I just wanted to do it myself. And the naive, obviously naive, but at the same point, it's like if I'm going in and running somebody else's store, I just need to figure out a few little things in order to have it be my store. And so that's what I did is I like I said, took every penny I had. I bought a few, retail cabinets. I tried to get some inventory that some other stores didn't have. So we had a little bit of differentiation and, got some slat wall that we screwed into the walls with some hooks and hung some faceplates and painted a store as pretty as we could, and boom, off to the races. Awesome. And that's what we did for months and months until finally opened another one and another one and another one and just kept growing.
How many stores did you open at that point, or like in total?
So we had different at different times. The most that we had going at a single time was only four, but the level of business that they did was actually more than when we had previous amounts of
Mm.
stores. So we were really specific in how we branded our stores, and we're intentionally going for much higher volume per location than kind of the way it works right now, which is there's one on every corner.
How were you developing the leaders on your team at that point? How old are you about this time? And like, how are you like kind of realizing what you can delegate and figuring that out? Yeah, tell me about that part of the journey.
Yeah, so it was more of show and hopefully people saw the right things to do because I was a chicken with my head cut off, man. I mean, like I mean, my second store was 4 hours away from my house, driving time. And so it was very common that I would work open to close one shift, go to bed, wake up at 4 in the morning, drive 4 hours, get to the other store, work that store. I had an apartment that had an air mattress and a box TV, and that was it. I would go and I'd fall asleep and I'd wake up and go work some more. But over that period of time, as we scaled, I just spent a lot of time with our core employees to help them become as good as they possibly can. And then essentially, when they're great, then as we hire other people, those other people get to see great. And even as we've launched this acai bowl concept, one of the most important things that we do is for the first few months, we need to help our staff understand what giving an everable experience is like.
Mm.
And then from that, as there's new people and new training, and as we continue to grow, that core group helps other people, be lifted up. And then on top of that, just, career pathing and giving people opportunities.
Mm.
One of the guys that works for me says whenever anybody gets a level up, they better reach down and pull somebody up with them. And I couldn't agree with that more. That's the kind of company we want to create.
Mm. Especially, I think being younger, that must have been a little bit more of a lesson because, like, in your 20s, opening multiple stores, it's like there's a little bit of frustration of like, what can I trust people with? What were some of the mistakes that you made during that time in terms of leadership, leading your team?
Yeah, so I mean, business wise, made every single mistake you possibly can, but fortunately, we ran the business lean enough that even when we made mistakes, we were able to correct those mistakes and learn and grow from it. But I mean, through it, the biggest headaches are always the biggest learning opportunities
Mm.
too. So, from the bad lease that you sign, we had a lease in one of our locations where the landlord had the ability to move us at will, right? That's a huge mistake. We'll never make that one again. We've had employees steal, we've had all these kind of things happen, but through that you create ways of hopefully streamlining so that things don't happen as much in the future and that you continually position yourself. And we're still making mistakes to this day, but I'm not afraid of mistakes, right? Because every mistake, I would much rather make a mistake than never try anything at all. And what I've found, especially over the last few years, is people are in this kind of preservation, scared to do anything kind of mentality. And that's why we're in this massive expansion mode, because while everyone else sits back, we're now getting to take on some of these amazing locations with amazing concepts and grow them.
Mm. And that's one thing that I was very curious, like listening to your story on other podcasts and just reading on your website and stuff. Like there seems to like be, I'm curious about your relationship to risk and fear. But first of all, like there's big risks that you've taken with your own money, but also like now with other people's money. Like what has been your relationship to risk and fear, and how have you managed that and grown that?
So early on, it's full risk, right? I'm 20, 22 years old. It's either go or bust. And if we bust, it is what it is, but at least we took the shot. Now, as I've gotten older and there's more people that we're responsible for, from investors to employees, I have dozens of employees. By the end of next year, we'll have hundreds of employees. So as we take on more responsibility, we obviously have to de-risk. And one of the ways that we've actually de-risked Everbowl is doing the investor route that we have, because we don't have any debt on the business. And so as we've gone through this expansion mode, we've done it with private investors that all own portions of our stores, so that every month, while our competitors are paying $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month in a mortgage payment or a loan payment, to a bank, we're distributing that to our investors. And when, as sales have gone up and down, we don't have to worry about this big nut every month of a payment. Instead, we can scale the business and use those proceeds to go elsewhere. So one of the things that we do is intentionally de-risk different investments inside of the portfolio. And whether we're syndicating real estate deals or whether we're investing into a company or whether we're syndicating Evervols or growing that or whatever it is, there's individual risk rewards in there. But one of the things that I don't talk about a ton is how close I was to losing everything in the cell phone business. And, I built that company over the course of 12 years, and that company made some really big mistakes regarding upgrading their technology. Apple refused to sell the iPhone to them for many years. In the course of less than 2 years, they lost almost 40% of all their customers. This basket that I had all my eggs in quickly tipped over. And so from that, now I don't like risk near as much. I love risk, but I love calculated risk and very intentionally making sure that we understand the pieces that move the puzzle. And then being invested into a lot of different things. I'm invested into real estate, but I'm also a tenant. And so right now, the last couple of years have been awesome to be invested into real estate as real estate's gone straight up. But right now, there's starting to be some vacancy. Interest rates are higher. There's not as many businesses opening. So landlords are starting to hurt now. Guess what? My other businesses can now go take advantage of that situation. And so we're always in a position where we could take advantage of other weaknesses that are out there. And then we have a pooled group of investors that collectively, we talk about our ideas, we talk about what we want to do and what we want to shift, and then we all put the money together to make it happen.